Hey there, welcome to the Linda MacKenzie Show, and this week let's remember that harmony grows from a heart that feels protected. Our guest today is Joffrey McClung, and she's author of The Heart of the Matter. I'll be giving you lots of fun and useful information, as well as answering your natural health, mind, and spirit questions later on in the show. But right now, let's get to our guest. And we have with us Joffrey McClung, and she's author of The Heart of the Matter. Now, Joffrey is a spiritual author and an independent filmmaker who previously worked as a senior producer and director for a New York City production company. Welcome, Joffrey. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. I think the subtitle of your book, the book is called The Heart of the Matter, and it's a workbook and guide to finding your way back to self-love. And I think that's really important, especially with what we're going through right now, don't you?
Oh, I think it's vital right now. I think with what we're seeing mirrored out in the world and the bullies out in the world and the people who are upset and angry, I think it's time to look inward and do some changing.
It's the best time to do it. I mean, we have a lot of time to do it right now, so this is the best way to use that time productively. So in your book, you talk about 3 essential tools. What are they?
Well, I talk about the 3 tools that everybody has. That's what I want everyone to know. You have everything you need already inside of you. The 3 tools are, well, first of all, it's your imagination. You're going to use your imagination in meditation. Now, the way I describe meditations, you simply close your eyes and you focus your mind. But when you use your imagination, you become your healer and your own champion. Excuse me. Your second one is your emotions. Now, you've got to use your emotions to get back to self-love. You just cannot think your way. So I walk you through getting used to your emotions in your emotional body. And the third tool is your higher self. Now, we all have a higher self. I don't care if you call it your intuition, your higher consciousness, whatever you want to call it. But we all have a higher self. The way I call the higher self is, it is the part of you that has never forgotten that it is one with the divine and has all the power and the knowledge of that love. Those are your 3 tools you're going to use on your inward journey.
Well, and that's true. And we have to understand that meditation is really an important step on because what happens is most of the time we're living in our left logical brain all the time, and it's, A, B, C, how do I cross a street, blah, blah, blah. But the right side of the brain, the creative side, is what can help us go on and beyond where we are. And so what meditation does is it quiets the left side, the left logical side, and allows the right side to kind of breathe, which is a wonderful tool for doing anything. I mean, I know that sometimes getting in touch with that side, if I have a problem during the week or, I can't solve it, before I go to sleep at night, I'll say, okay, give me what I need to do. And then I go to sleep, and in the morning I'll wake up with the answers, or at least one step closer to the answer. And that's allowing the right side of the brain to go through. And I think that unless you allow that right side of the brain, you can't really get in touch, because your mind is just like a monkey mind. It's just busy, busy, busy all the time, right? Do you agree?
I totally agree with you. I think that right side, you definitely want to get that right side. And again, you don't want to sink yourself to self-love. You can only do so much with your brain in that sense, your left side. You got to use your right side, and you got to use your feelings in meditation when you're using your imagination to heal, to deal with your orphans or whatnot. I think you're totally right. That right brain is vital. Now, I used it when I was an actor, so I already had it awoken, so to speak.
Right.
But everybody has it. They just need to train it to go into it.
Exactly. I think that that's exactly right. Now, why is so? What is the higher self? Now, that's something like I don't really call my higher self God. I think God's beyond me, but I do know that there is a piece of me that's kind of connected. Well, I've been psychic since I'm 8 years old, so there's a lot of differences, but everybody's psychic as well. So, everybody has that capability. So, but what do you claim is the higher self?
Well, like I said, it's the part of you that's never forgotten. It's one with the divine. As we're playing this human game on this side of the veil, there's another part of you on the other side of the veil that's still connected to the divine. I happen to believe that the universe or God is separate in a sense from you. But again, we're all one at the same time. So you have to have that kind of, again, using the right brain, looking at that you're one, but at the same time you're sort of separate as well. So your higher self is the part of you that's never forgotten. It's one with the divine and has all the knowledge and power of that love. That's why you go to your higher self when you're going into meditation and you're trying to heal something or understand something, so you can get a higher perspective out of your ego brain.
Right. Well, what I feel a lot is that, there's a lot of energy zones around. I found that there's like 11 energy zones that we have to navigate to, and that we're all divinely, even though we're unique, we're each unique spirits, but we are divinely connected to Source or God, whatever you want to call it. And with that information, we can get any answer we need. For example, when I do a reading, there's 17 different kinds of psychic abilities, and but I use clairsentience because I want to feel what those people are feeling, and I go through all these different energy zones to figure out what it is. And even though so everybody is connected. I mean, it's that when that intuitive feeling that if you're going to cross the street and you think that, here's a better example. If you feel like something is happening, somebody's going to call you, and then all of a sudden they do, well, that's when you're connecting to your higher self, because you're actually feeling, because in that higher self, everything is possible.
Oh, yes, and your higher self has a 360-degree viewpoint that you do not have as a human being. So you definitely want to connect to that higher self to get a higher perspective.
Right. Now, why is self-love important?
Well, I think self-love determines how you see yourself and how you see the world around you. It is literally everything that you're doing is geared by your lack of self-love or your self-love. I think everybody can grow their self-love. I think without self-love, you tend to have your negative beliefs lead the way. Self-love really is imperative in living a full life, frankly.
Now, you talk about self-love and you say that there's 3 components of self-love. What's that all about?
Well, I talk from it, rather than a psychological viewpoint, I talk about it from a spiritual viewpoint. And I've broken it down to 3 components of self-love. This is all the work I've done, so I'm sharing my work. It may speak to some people. It may not speak to other people. But the way I break it down is the 3 components of self-love, is that you're lovable, loving, and loved. Okay, what do I mean by lovable? That you are worthy of love. You are made in the universe's eyes, and you are worthy of love. It doesn't matter if another human being loves you. If you live on top of the mountain all alone, you are worthy of love in the universe's eyes. When you get that in your heart, you got a piece of self-love. The second component is called loving. That is to understand that you were born with a naturally benevolent heart, waiting to be uniquely expressed through you, whether it's in relationships, business, career, or the arts. It's waiting to be expressed uniquely through you. In other words, you are good enough just the way you are. That's where that being good enough falls into. Now, the third component is loved. It means that you are valued and you matter to the universe. Not for what you've done or not for what you will do, but because you are you. Simply because you are you. When you lock those 3 in, you have a firm basis in self-love, and you can begin to change your negative beliefs that came out of your lack of self-love. But those are the 3 components I worked on, and when I locked all 3 in, I really rose up on that plateau of love.
Well, I think that's a really great way of doing it. I mean, there's nothing here that, I think you're right. I mean, that makes the total, and what you have to do is, like, there's always know yourself, and all these wonderful things. Is before you can progress, you really have to understand who you are first, and then you can move through. So many people want to go from here to there, and then halfway through, they're kind of stopped because they haven't really done the work of really understanding who they are and what they are and accepting who they are. Because, we're brought up, I was brought up in New York as well, and you're brought up in a thing where you have to, especially the kids these days, they already have to strive. By the time they're in 8th grade, they're supposed to know what they're supposed to be doing for the rest of their lives, and they have to do this, and they have to do that. But they don't teach them, hey, just be quiet and sit and understand. And when they do, it becomes magnanimous, and it becomes a sense of self other than yourself. I know with my grandson, ever since he was 2, I've been teaching him these kinds of lessons. And he is, honored because he will step in and say, hey, we're not bullying this kid today. He, even as a young kid, because you instill that you are who you are and you're loved and that you are good enough no matter what, you then have this security that you can extend to other people to help them. And it's certainly true, so your book makes it a very good succinct way of viewing it and finding out how you can move forward so that you can get really beyond yourself and really, instead of the me, it's got to be the we, right?
Exactly. That's what I talk about in the book. And also I experienced, again, everything I did in the book, I did myself. Is that when I was working to grow my sense of self-love, what happened is that I grew my self-compassion, my self-kindness, my self-acceptance, my self-trust, all the different areas of self-love. As I grew those, I automatically had more of it for other people. And it's not something I went out to do. I mean, I was compassionate to begin with. That was part of who I came in with. But it began to grow as I grew in my self-love. So it's really, like you said, as you grow in your self-love, you end up offering those things to other people and working with the we's. But it starts with working with yourself first.
And you know what? It doesn't matter how old you are, you keep still finding out. I'm 71, and I keep still finding out things about myself and go, what? How did that happen? But, so I understand, so even if you think that you know it all, you can always pick up a good piece or find something new. And that's a wonderful thing. As we grow, we shed skins and we grow even. There's no stop to the growth. No stop. Even when you pass over, So
with you on that. And like you said, as you're growing, and if you're saying you think you know everything, that probably is a big clue that you don't know anything, frankly.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, I'm still learning almost every day. There's something I learn every day, and isn't that a joy? I don't have to be stuck in a box,
Exactly.
Now, what do you mean by investigating? What is investigating about?
Well, investigating is, again, becoming self-aware. So we use questions in the book, questions that I asked myself. And when I say questions, you go beneath the first answer you get, because you're going to get the answer you've told yourself 1,000 times. Those are the lies we tell ourselves. You go beneath the first answer, and you get the second or third answer. That's one way to get to know yourself. You're investigating. What do you really believe? Who told you that that was true? Did it work for them? You start to question everything you've been taught by other people who didn't know any more than you do, frankly. You begin to question those things. That's one form of investigation. Another form of investigation is to pay attention to your feelings. Pay attention to what gets triggered outside in the outer world. That's a good clue of the homework you need to do, the healing you need to do, the adjustments you need to take. So you start to investigate what you're thinking and what you're feeling. That's what you begin to investigate. So later on, you can begin to interrogate the various parts of yourself.
Right. And a lot of times it's a matter of recognizing what it is. And it used to be years ago that we had the time and you'd go to a shrink and the shrink would say, okay, and your mother did this and your mother did that, and then you go find the whys and the wherefores. Now it's an easier way, because once you find what it is, you, instead of going back and worrying about the past, you're living in the moment, right? And so what you want to do is say, okay, here I am. This is what was stopping me. Where do I want to go, and how do I get there? And once you do that, then you can strip away the past and take the value of the lessons, but you can move and still stay in the moment and then move towards the future with a plan. It's interesting for me when I started this network, right? Almost 20 years ago, I wrote out everything I had to do to start the network and what my thing was to make it positive. And we've reached over, 60 million people with this network in positive talk with all of our 40 hosts that I put together. And I just wrote everything out, exactly what I wanted. And then I threw it away. And then what I did was I was so connected, with Source that every day I don't even have a plan. I wake up and I'm told what to do, how to do it, where to do it, and I'm flowing with life and I'm waiting for the synchronicity of the moment and I'm moving, and it is a much easier, more fulfilling life. And everything I wanted was there, because you have to trust,
Oh, yeah. But first of all, you're much more advanced than a lot of people, frankly, on the planet. So you got to give yourself some credit on that one. Like you said, you were psychic since you were 8, so you've been in tune for quite a long time.
Right.
But the way you're doing it is brilliant. Following, listen, synchronicity, allowing it to open up places for you and what to do. I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Well, but the thing is that, of course, I've had 40 years, and God had put me in every kind of situation that you could possibly do, from down to 2 dresses a year growing up poor, then into middle class, then nouveau riche, to even old money, and even jet set, and when I was doing radio and TV and all that stuff. I mean, so I've gotten a lot of experience, and but everybody, that old song by the Beatles, The Fool on the Hill, whether you're alone and doing nothing, or whether you're doing all the things that I did in my life, you get the same lessons, because we're all really on the same path of getting back to source. So it does,
exactly.
Right? So it doesn't matter if you're doing a lot or little, as long as you're doing it consciously. And it's like, if you're a street sweeper, right, and you're the president of the United States, not this one, but a real one. Sorry about that. But, each one is so important, and you don't realize we're all important, every single one of us.
Oh, definitely important. That's why part of the book, I think it's in the SelfLove, when I talk about the 3 components, that somebody who's sleeping on the street is as important as the millionaire. They all have a role to play. They're all here to learn something and to teach us something. So I totally agree with you. I don't care if you're, like you said, a street sweeper or the President of the United States. You all have something to learn, and you have something to share with other people, if you so choose to do that. Now, you may be unconscious and walking dumbly through life, and that's okay. You'll get another chance. But I totally agree with you on that. Everyone matters, whether you're living on top of the mountain by yourself or you're running 1,000 companies. You all have something important, and you're valuable, and you matter to the universe.
And that's what your book is about, the heart of the matter. And that's the heart of the matter is finding yourself so that you can really be part of the consciousness of everything. And actually, I think your book explains not only to get peace in your soul, but also to make a difference in the world. And it's a way to do it where it's easy to do, and you've done a great job in showing how, it's a little workbook that they can sit there and figure it out and go step by step and go through all this process, the same process that you did, and which, we can all glean something from everybody else's processes. That's why biographies are great, or, stories and things are great, because we can all glean something from that.
Oh, totally. And I think once you realize you have everything inside of you, you can do this work on your own level, at your own pacing. And like I said, you may return to different sections again and again. Things are done in layers. So you get some information, your life opens up, you feel better, and then you hit a wall and think, I need to open up even more. You go back and do a little more work. Again, I think we're here to grow until your last breath. You're here to grow and to evolve. And I think this book will help you to grow and evolve and help you realize that you can heal the past, you can love yourselves, all the parts of yourselves, and actually move forward without leaving any part, quivering in a cave waiting to be found.
Yes, I agree with you. Let's take a break, and then we're going to be back with Joffrey McClung and her book, The Heart of the Matter. Stay with us. Hey there, welcome back. You're listening to the Linda MacKenzie Show, and today we have with us Joffrey McClung, and she's author of the book The Heart of the Matter, which you can get on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. And we are talking a little bit about, just about investigating and finding your self-love. Now, why should you question your emotions, Joffrey?
Well, I think emotions, we've never really been taught how to work with our emotions. At least I know I haven't, and I think most of the people I know in my life have not. We're raised by parents who were not also taught how to deal with their emotions. Some emotions you're not supposed to have. Certain genders aren't supposed to have certain emotions. That's why I think that's why in my book, the emotion chapter is the longest chapter in the book, because it's one area that I'm really stressed that you've got to get your emotions in balance. Because once you've balanced your emotions, then they can become your navigational system to move through the world to let you know this feels right to me or something doesn't feel right to me here. But when they're out of balance, of course, you're being reacted and you're being triggered by everything. So your emotions are all wacky. But that's why we do so much work on the emotional body and to get you used to your emotions so you can begin to heal your wounds, heal your orphans, get your emotional body back into balance. So then when you're moving through the world, when you get a little trigger in your stomach or a little nudge in your back or wherever it happens, you pay attention to your emotions. They're telling you something you need to know.
That's really brilliant. I mean, especially my brothers and everything are still in New York, and they're, we're Italian-Irish, so there's definitely, and the hardest part for them, for me, I was very introspective, but my brothers, one is too logical and the other one just is pure emotion. And over the years, it's interesting how you can, and my mom was just, I don't know what she was, but she was a nice Irish girl from Boston, Park the Car in Harvard Square. And my father was Northern Italian from the Bronx with red hair, So what happened is that my mother never was a mother for whatever reason. She was a very practical, there's a practical mother that gives you the ABCs, you need to do this and then my father was the loving one. And my mother, of course, gave me lots of strengths. I mean, she gave me trucks instead of dolls. And she'd say, here, you could be anything you want. Go buy a motorcycle. What? So she was very progressive about her time. But she's what I call a maintenance mom. She wants you to make sure that you're a good asset to the world and that you can take care of yourself. And there was very little loving there. But my father was, of course, over-gushing. So my poor brothers didn't have... I kept telling them, I got the best of both worlds, but, you're a little off, you're a little off. So, but I ended up being the matriarch of the family, and so my brothers, whatever things would happen in their lives would come to me. And so with their kids, and, when I'd come into town, it would be like this whole 2 days of just almost sitting there like the Godfather, people coming in. Yeah. But and so your book to me would be a really great thing for my brother that, of course, is all emotional, and he just bases everything on emotionals, and so learning to deal with that emotional in a practical way that you have in your book is mind-opening, because once that emotion's in track and you know why you're doing why you're having the emotions that you're having, that opens up your creativity and your to be better than you are and more understanding of everybody, better than anything else, because if you're stuck in that emotion, there's no place you're going.
Well, you get into an emotional loop. In fact, this book The Heart of the Matter is actually being rewritten in a sense. I'm adding my personal story to it for the next book that comes out. My sister was extremely emotional. In fact, she dumped her emotions on anybody and everybody who was in the room. And she always felt better afterwards. The rest of us felt like we had been beaten up.
Yeah, I understand.
All the emotions all over us. So I learned, and then my mother, she shoved her emotions down to keep the peace. So I had some good teachers in my family to show me what not to do with emotions and how not to dump your emotions and how not to shove your emotions down. So I saw two ends of the spectrum, so to speak. But I think emotions are so vital. They're part of our tools of how we co-create. But until we bring them into balance, they're really just running us ragged.
Right, exactly right. Now, also in your book, you talk about a safety net. What is that, and why should you let it go?
Well, safety nets, once I get into the interrogation process of dealing with your inner orphans, which are just the parts of you that are still hurt from the past, that need some loving, some healing, you're also going to discover the behaviors you've done out of your lack of self-love, the things you did to other people that maybe were harmful to them or hurt them. And part of your safety nets are your go-to behaviors when you're feeling unloved or unlovable or powerless, which are all connected. When you feel those areas, you go to your safety nets of judgment, judging other people, needing to be right. I mean, you know the people who fight to be, I'm right, you're wrong. Control, people-pleasing, all the different aspects that we turn into to keep ourselves feeling safe, and maybe we'll get some love if we do it this way. Those are your safety nets. And safety nets, when you're working on self-love, you have to look at, I had some judgment. I had some control issues. I would control my environment to make me feel safe. We all have different aspects. I was also a people pleaser. That way people would be kind to me and not hurt me, maybe, that sort of aspect. When you deal with that safety net and you deal with self-love and you let them go, your world just opens up. It opens up wonderfully because you know you're loved by the universe. You've got synchronicity on your side. You've got the universe watching your back. You don't need to be in control. You don't need to judge other people to make yourself feel better. You don't need to people please. All of these things we do to make ourselves feel safe because we feel unlovable or unloved.
Exactly. And also, as you're doing that, it helps to keep you in a positive state, which is extremely important because positive begets positive. And it's not like The Secret where like just attracts like. I mean, because that's The Secret is one thing out of 11 or 12 universal laws you have to do to make energy work, as well as the 22 sub-laws that have to all work together to push that energy forward. But staying positive helps you boost your immune system. And this is one of the reasons I started this network back in 2002 is because people were so negative, and so we wanted to build a lighthouse of positive talk so that people could gain their power and stay positive, because when we're positive, we are at a higher vibration that can actually change the world. And so when you have self-love in your book, The Heart of the Matter, which teaches you how to do that, it automatically gears you into positivity. And when you are positive, everything in your life starts to click in, and you help not only your life, but all these other lives. So your book is like the stepping stone to that.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. But I agree, positive begets positivity. Sometimes you got to deal with the darker emotions to heal them, to look at them, to bring them to more to the light. But it's about moving to the light and being positive and being in that synchronicity and allowing life to open up for you versus you pushing against life.
Right. Now tell us a little bit about where people can find out more about you and your book.
Well, I've got a website, JoffreyMcClung.com, or you can just type in it'sallaboutselflove.com, ITS, allaboutselflove.com, and it will show you my books. It will show you some excerpts from my book. You'll be able to read what you decide if you want to buy it or not. You can push a button to go to Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can also go to my blog there. I do 1-minute videos every week. They're just 1 minute. I do them quickly on Instagram and on Facebook that remind you what steps are going towards self-love, little tidbits, little hints of what to look out for and how to raise your vibration in a sense. That's on my blog. So I would go to my website, it's the best place to find out about me, and then you can follow me on Instagram or on my Facebook page.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being part of our show today.
Well, thank you, and thank you for making this network. I really greatly appreciate it. We all needed it.
Thanks so much. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.